I'm Bob Spinozzi, and welcome to Small Town. Got milk? Many call it the perfect food. Well, on today's show, we're going to learn about a Littleton dairy that also served as a summer destination for fun in the sun in the 1950s and 1960s. J. Fred Herpy started a dairy business, but it was more than that. It was a blend of a milk dealership, an ice cream stand, and a recreation area with 2 swimming pools. And get this, milk bottle caps could be used for admission to those pools. Now, if you grew up in Littleton, Herpy's Dairy is legend, and we'll get to that story in just a little bit. But first, I want to talk about the American diner and how it evolved from a lunch wagon to become an institution. And then we're going to pay tribute to Littleton diners of the past and visit a lunch wagon and a diner that are in town right now. Now, the whole concept of the diner started in 1872 when Walter Scott of Providence, Rhode Island, parked his horse and wagon outside the Providence Journal newspaper one night and sold hot food to newspaper employees. That wagon was the first lunch car in the country, but it was in Worcester where the lunch wagon business actually mushroomed into an industry. In 1891, Charlie Palmer received the first patent given for a lunch wagon design, and his wagon configuration would be standard for many years. The following year, also in Worcester, Thomas Buckley became the first to mass produce the wagon when he formed the New England Lunch Wagon Company. And later in 1906, Philip Dupre and Irving Stoddard established the Worcester Lunch Car Company, and the two companies combined made Worcester the preeminent location in the whole country for lunch wagon production. Now, the wagons were typically made from oak and mahogany wood. They were colorful and festively painted on the outside, and stained glass was a common component. Beginning in the 1920s, design changes started to appear, featuring Art Deco elements and ornate tiling. Now, on the inside, restrooms and electricity were being introduced. The newer models also provided both stool and table service for added customer comfort, and many of the wagons stayed open 24 hours a day. But on the horizon, a design change and a name change were about to take place. The wagons would be built to look like railroad dining cars and then named appropriately. Diners' menus started to become more diversified while keeping with the tried and true old-fashioned comfort foods. Diners were cheaper than eating in a restaurant, and if you were a regular, you formed friendships with the diner staff. And in small towns, diners became downright centers of social life. As the popularity of diners soared to new heights, so did the demand for more seating, and diners became larger as prefab buildings were introduced. These newer structures also featured stainless steel, formica, and vinyl in their construction to give a more modern look. It also gave the diners some dazzle and dash. And 25 cents gave you 5 plays on a jukebox. Well, by the 1960s, diners fell victim to fast food restaurants. But there were still over 5,000 diners in the country, and they remained a popular option. A decade later, their numbers began to dwindle significantly. Now, locally, you can still find diners today in Shirley and Fitchburg, Lowell, Clinton, and of course, a whole bunch in Worcester. In the 1940s, there were 2 diners in Littleton, the Monarch Diner on King Street and the Littleton Diner on Great Road. It is my pleasure to have with me today Eleanor Cook, who along with her husband Chet owned the Monarch Diner. I also have with me Earl Banks, who worked next door to the Monarch and was a regular customer there. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you for having us.
I appreciate that. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Monarch was to the right of the Shell station on King Street, and the Littleton Diner was to the left of where the Subway sandwich shop is now on Great Road.
Yes.
Does that sound right? Now, I couldn't find any specific information on the Littleton Diner, but I do know that the Monarch Diner was assembled at this Worcester Lunch Car Company that I mentioned earlier. and it was put down in Littleton in 1941. But Eleanor, you and Chet were owners starting about when?
Chet took over in 1960.
Okay. And the two of you worked there?
I didn't work there. I just helped out, and I did some baking and I did some errands, but I never actually worked in the diner.
Okay. But you do know a heck of a lot about it. You were there
Yes,
every day.
yeah.
You were making deliveries.
Things like that.
What did the inside look like?
Well, it consists of 9 stools. We had 6 booths. Your grill and your sandwich tables were all made out front. The regular cooking was done in the kitchen with the fryer later and stuff.
Okay. And tell us about some of the food that was made on those grills.
On the grill?
Yep.
A lot of hamburger went out and hot dogs. They made omelets. A lot of breakfast made.
Do you remember any of the menus? Can you walk us through any of the menus?
Well, we had a special every day. Like Monday, it was veal cutlet, which included your soup, your coffee, everything for $1.99.
Okay.
Tuesday was liver and onions. Wednesday was spaghetti and meatballs. Thursday was meatloaf. And Friday was fried haddock.
Okay. Now, you must have had a couple favorites there. You were there just about every day? You worked next door?
Just about, well, yeah, I worked next door during the day, and I used to work the night shift till like 9, 10 o'clock at night. And when I worked there at nighttime, I would sit in about that first stool inside the diner and eat and drink coffee. And when someone came to the gas pump, I'd run and take care of the gas pumps.
Was that first stool by the air conditioner by any chance? Closer to the air conditioner?
No, I don't remember the air conditioner. It was right inside the door.
In the back.
Just inside the door. And of course the grill was sitting right over here, so pick up all those nice flavored smells, the cooking, and always had to eat,
Now, you mentioned that you worked the night shift sometimes, day shift sometimes. What were, in fact, the hours? How many hours was the diner open?
The hours?
Yeah.
I believe they started around 6 and closed around 8:30. Am I right?
Well,
8:30, 9 o'clock?
I was going to say probably 9. I think we used
Around
to be open.
9.
We used to be open the gas station around 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were open 7 days a week?
Yes. Yeah.
And can you tell me about some of the customers that came in there?
Well, there's a lot of regulars. They come in for 3 meals a day, and some of them 3 or 4 days a week. A lot of steadies. And they didn't all, they come from out of town too, and stop there. And a lot of the truckers all stop there from Samville and Leahy's and stuff.
And you had a lot of the same faces behind the counter too. I understand that.
They've been there for a number of years, long before Chet even had it.
And some of them some were family members that carried over from other family members?
Yes, Ruth Kimball had 3 of her daughters work there. Norma had a boy work there for her. My daughter worked there, and Chet's daughter, Carol, worked there. So as the others they wanted more time off, the younger ones took over.
Now, how many cooks did you have?
We had 1 short order cook on each shift. We had a cook in the kitchen and a helper in the kitchen on each shift. And then we had somebody up front making sandwiches and stuff.
There must have been a time or two when someone couldn't make it in because of a snowstorm or something, and maybe you had to fill in?
I have to say one thing. Chet was very fortunate. He had all good, dependable help. If they couldn't make it, they got somebody to fill in for them. He was very fortunate.
I bet a lot of funny things happen there. Can you recall anything?
Yes, I do. I remember, as I say, I used to sit in that first counter there, and if you walked in, you sat down and you wanted a hamburger, you say, I'll have a hamburger. And of course, the guy at the grill, he's cooking a hamburger. He don't want to say much, And after a few minutes went by, you said, I want a hamburger. And he'd turn around and say, that's 2 of them, right?
No, which cook was this?
This would...
Freddie.
Freddie.
Does that sound like Freddie to you, Eleanor?
Yeah. That's
Does?
right.
Yeah.
Can you think of anything that maybe jumps out at you that you remember from the
Yes,
customers
in a
there?
way. One morning when Ralph was working the grill, we had quite a few orders, and the governor and his aide come in.
Now this is about this is in the 60s, and it's Governor
In the 60s,
John
yeah.
Volpe.
Yeah,
I believe.
1962, something like
Okay.
that. And the aide said, you know, the governor's here. And Ralph said, well, he can wait his turn like everybody else. And 3 or 4 people at the counter started laughing, which included the governor to start laughing. So they made a big joke of it that day.
That is funny.
Yeah.
But weren't the two of you telling me that the governor was in fact in Littleton pretty often because he had horses here? Or
He had horses. I don't know. I thought they were on Russell Street, and that's what brought
Yes, it
him
was.
up.
Yes,
Was
it
it?
was, yeah.
That's what
Russ
brought
Street,
him up to Littleton.
Where the stables were there, where the racetrack used to be years ago.
Okay.
Which is right across from that Penwell building there now. There's houses there now.
Okay. And this is the Great Row end of Russell Street,
Yeah.
as opposed to
If you're going up,
2A.
if you're going up Russell Street from Great Road,
Yeah.
it's been on the right-hand side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, Eleanor, in a way, you're still working at a diner once or twice a week, and it happens to be right here. We're going to cut away right now and show the folks where that is. Okay, Eleanor, see, with the magic of television, we can be at 2 different places at the same time. So here we are at the Senior Site Meal Center, and we have Gail Dalton, our manager.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How about yourself?
Oh, doing great.
Okay. Now, the inspiration for this diner, the modeling was modeled after the Monarch itself.
I believe so. I don't remember seeing it, but a lot of people come in here and they have tons of memories of actually working there and going there every day after school and eating and everything like
But
that.
I understand it was all volunteers that put this
Every
together.
single person that came in was a volunteer that painted and helped out. People come in here that work are all volunteers.
Okay. What else? What are you making today?
We're just getting our bread ready for lunch for the people.
Okay. And as you can see, this is an enormous menu, enormously diversified menu for the month of November. And do you put this together yourself, Gail?
No, actually, the company I work for, Minuteman Senior Services, we have a nutritionist, Peg McCullough, and she sits down with a bunch of other nutritionists, and they put together the menu for the month. So everyone makes sure they have enough vitamins, the vitamin B's and A's and C's, and calorie amount and fat content, you know, it's all. And it's on the menu. People, when they get the menu, they can see how much sodium is in there if they are cardiac or lactose intolerant. They can read to see whether they come to take the meal. Like today, we're having baked ham, and I already had one of my Meals on Wheels. People call me up saying that they can't have this meal today because it's high in sodium. So I'm not sending them a meal, but they're going to go out to lunch instead.
Okay, and it's $2 per
$2,
meal.
yes.
And if you do want to eat down here, you make reservations ahead of time?
Yeah, usually the day before or even a couple of days before. Some people actually call me up first thing in the morning to see if anyone has canceled and if they can have their spot. So, but I usually manage to get everybody in. We manage to feed the people.
Okay, well that sounds great because it's almost lunchtime and I'm ready to bon appetit. Okay, Eleanor, that was pretty good. Now, do you have any final thoughts?
No,
Yep.
I enjoy working at the diner downstairs. I enjoy the men's breakfast. I have a lot of fun. I make the pancakes.
Well, you look like you were having a lot of fun down there.
Yeah, I make blueberry pancakes for them, and they enjoy it. And I get as much pleasure out of it as they do.
Okay. Earl?
Well, I can say about the diner is, back in those days, the diner was more or less the meeting place in town. Everybody went to the diner, got together at the diner, sit around, have a cup of coffee, chat and stuff like this, you know. Between the Monarch Diner and the Littleton Diner.
Is the Littleton Diner a little bit smaller than the Monarch?
Oh, yes.
Sounds like the Monarch was really the more popular.
Yes, well, of course, it's in the center of town,
Yeah.
back right on the main road, you know. Actually, the Littleton Diner was on 2A, on Route 2, too. It used to be Route 2 those days, it's 2A now. But it was a lot smaller, yeah. It was a very small place. It was run by Pearl Gilly and his wife. And it was a good little diner. It was very small, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had a great time listening to this. I'm sure the viewers have as well. Thank you both very much for being here. You're going to stick around a little bit. You're going to be part of the next story.
Okay.
But before we do that, I would be remiss not to mention Ed Sweeney's Lunch Wagon, located down at Gary's Farm Stand on Great Road. Owner Ed Howard features hot dogs, soup, specialty items, and a special bottle with a genie in it. Actually, it's a tip jar that reads, "All proceeds go to Littleton schools for book purchases." Now, to this date, Ed's loyal customers have donated a staggering $10,000 toward purchasing books for the schools. Now, if you haven't been down to Ed's, try it. You won't be disappointed. Ed is open year-round. On this next segment of Small Town, we're going back to a time when there were only glass bottles, and to Herpy's Dairy, where ice cream, swimming pools, and bottle caps were all uniquely intertwined. Joining us is Ann Himmelberger, and it was Ann's father, J. Fred Herpy, who started this legendary business. Ann, thank you so much for being
nice
here
to be
with Earl and myself. Now, the dairy was where Toyota presently is.
Yes.
And that was it was a big site. There was a lot there. You had the dairy, you had the swimming pools, you had bathhouses,
Ice cream stand.
ice cream stand.
And the milk business.
Right.
Yes.
Now, before Herpy's itself, your father bought some dairy stock and a single milk route at a dairy. Could you
Yes.
just give us some backdrop starting there?
In 1942, my parents, who lived in New York State, bought a business from Whitcomb Farm Dairy. And my father bought that in 1942. It was located at the center, right across almost from the Historical Society, the Houghton building. He used that plant. He had one truck and one employee, so they would buy milk from the farm, pasteurize it, put it in bottles, and then deliver it to customers in town. In 1952, my dad bought land up on Great Road, and he built a milk plant up there, much larger building. The business was still the same. They bought milk from various farms in Littleton and surrounding towns. At its peak, my dad had 9 routes, 9 trucks that delivered milk to customers along the routes, and a total of 20 employees for the dairy.
Now, generally, where was this route? Give us the
They delivered milk to people in Littleton, Ayr, Boxborough, Acton, Concord, Carlisle, all around this area.
So it was a pretty wide area.
Yes.
Yeah.
In 1960, my dad decided that he would like to have a swimming pool, partly as an attraction for the business, but knowing that it would provide recreation for the kids in town. So he built 2 swimming pools, actually, Olympic size. One was a wading pool, so that the maximum depth was about 3 inches. So, 3 feet.
Yeah.
So younger children who didn't know how to swim were in an area which would be completely safe. The other pool was, of course, deeper, and they had an area for diving, and it was all fenced in, and there was a fence between the 2 pools, so the little kids couldn't get over to the big pool.
Okay. Now, I don't think I mentioned why you're here right now. You're here for 2 reasons. We like you, number 1. Number 2, you just happen to work next door to where Herpy's was as well.
Yes, I used to work at the Ford dealer there, right in Burnt. And you walk out the back door of the garage, and you can see the pool very easily, you know. and it was always full of kids. There'd be hundreds of kids every warm day there, you know. And a lot of activity, a lot of fun going on over there. It was a great thing to have.
Well, in fact, your children went there.
My wife used to take my two oldest boys, Kenny and Dwayne, down there, and of course they had a milk cap program. If you save your milk cap, there was a nickel.
Let's start from the beginning on that. Tell me exactly how that whole thing worked now with the milk caps. And did your father think of this ingenious idea as well? Do you remember?
It was probably his idea because my mother always said that her house was underwater. So she had to wait till the pool closed. The bottle caps have a cardboard, glass bottles have a cardboard cap to them. And they come on all of the bottles, so the kids could save them even during the winter and use them in the summer.
Well, I mean, in your household now, you have a daughter, Patty, I believe.
Yeah.
Now
I had 2 daughters and 2 sons, yes.
Okay, but
yeah, they drank a lot.
You must remember, though, in the wintertime, you saved those caps.
Yep.
It's kind of like a piggy bank.
Yep, that's right, yeah, it was. You just put them in a can. Come summertime, you cash in. It worked like a nickel piece, I think it was. So it was your admission to get in.
Now, what was the admission again?
Well,
50 cents?
I thought it was 50 cents. So
Yeah.
I remember.
So it's 50 cents per visit per person, and you could use the bottle caps towards the...
I believe they could use the bottle caps toward half of the admission. So,
up to half?
Yeah.
Okay.
5 bottle caps.
Limit, right.
25 cents.
Right,
And then,
that's a lot of milk, too. Then.
yeah.
Of course, milk was a lot cheaper back those days, too.
You know, Herpy's was more than just the swimming pools. You had swimming lessons there as well. Could you tell us about that?
Dad hired swimming instructors and lifeguards, of course, for the pool. And the first year, there were about 60 children who were enrolled in swimming classes. One year, 1965, I think they had about 550 children. And in 1968, there were over 1,100 swimmers in their classes. And I was told that, I believe it was Boxborough, that the parents would hire a bus to bring the children over so they could take swimming lessons here in Littleton.
That's a heck of a number, 1,100.
1,150. Mm-hmm.
That's...
Well, as I said before, you look over that pool every afternoon, the sun was out, it was full all the time.
Well, I unfortunately didn't come to Littleton until quite a bit after that. Was it set back quite a ways from Great Road?
If people remember the bank and the office buildings that were on that site, the pool was set back about the same distance.
I think most of the viewers probably remember where Abishan's was.
Yes, that's...
So it was,
Right.
Yeah, so it was back from the street, and the pools were one in back of the other, and behind that was the bathhouse where they could change and have baskets to put their clothes in. They also had a snack bar, so they had hot dogs, hamburgers, fries, whatever.
Wow, so yeah, there's a nice menu.
Well, if people remember where the movie theater used to be, the movie theater was where the bathhouse was.
Okay. So,
at that time.
All right, well, thank you so much for being here today.
It's a pleasure.
You know, the local people here in Littleton, everyone remembers Herpy's Dairy, and they always really speak fondly of it.
People remembered too, because one cold, snowy morning, I was shoveling the driveway with my dad, who was 90 at the time, and this car sort of slowed down and then kind of backed up, and he said, "You're Mr. Herpy, aren't you?" Dad said, "Yeah." He said, "I remember swimming in your pool," and he got his shovel out of the trunk and said, "I want to do something to help repay you
wow.
and help us shovel that driveway."
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you again, both of you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, that's today's show. Two types of businesses in Littleton, all serving up healthy portions of great times and memories for a lot of folks. Well, after doing this show, I've worked up an appetite, and I think I'm going to drive down to Ed's for some food, and I'm going to leave a tip and the tip of the cap. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.